What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, where we're rolling along here with our special editions of our mock draft of all time and talking about our personal pay-per-view cards that we could do with our rosters. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins.
Good luck, everyone.
And the host with the most for this episode, Robert DeFelice.
What the fuck does that mean, Callum? Hold on. What is this? Good luck, everyone. I do good things. Like,
I'm just preparing people for like something like Mabel in the main event, or like Crush goes 60-minute Iron Man or something like that. Just
well, since he's spoiled the card already, the main event is Crushers and Mabel in a 60-minute Iron Man match. No.
You mean you wouldn't want to see Barry Windham versus Trent for the WWE Championship?
I mean, I'd be cool seeing the match, maybe not for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd actually be a pretty good match.
Well, I mean, this is all up to Rob. He's got his 100 people that he had chosen during our mock draft, and I mean, it's the same as what we've done before with my card, with Callum's card. He's going to run down which matches that he booked for his either one-night show, two-night WrestleMania, whatever Taboo Tuesday. I don't know what Rob's got in mind. We purposely didn't tell each other any ideas on anything ahead of time, so maybe Rob's got a big man buffet going on. Maybe he's got some tournaments and some battle royals and some multi-man matches and stuff like we had got going on, or maybe he's sticking straight to Taz beats everyone in a gauntlet match for the entire night.
You don't fuck with Taz.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you.
So while he's going along here and he's telling us his card, make sure that you drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us what you're thinking about these matches that Rob is putting out there. While you're doing that, hit the like button, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and double check that just in case. Hit the little notification bell for those email alerts. If you want to help us grow and you want to see more of these kind of things on the monetary side of things, at least, where you can help out with the thanks button, the Patreon, the members only stuff on YouTube, just hit the little join button over there. There's TeePublic and Redbubble for the options for like the merchandise stuff if you want to pick that up. And just share this along. You know, this is the type of thing that the more people that we get listening to these things, the more that we can do content like this. We've been having a ton of fun checking this stuff out and doing these kind of things. Also, before we get started, I want to remind everybody we are recording this in advance. This is October 6th. So if anything odd changes in the meantime, when you'll be hearing this around the 9th or the 11th or something along those lines of November, we got a month. So maybe in that meantime, something opens up and Rob's like, man, I wish I would have done this. I didn't think about that. Or maybe somebody ends up making a character change or something. I don't know. Just keep that in mind.
Any cancellations, any stupid things that anybody says, we're not responsible, as we established in the first draft. Yada yada problematic. Yeah,
there's a sweeping yada yada problematic. If that was the case, we're going to ignore that, that kind of thing.
We do not know.
Yeah. So without knowing that stuff, of course, Rob's going to go along here. He's going to tell us what he's got in mind, and with that, I'm just going to pass the reins off to you. And the baton. There you go. You got the baton.
All right, so let's be clear. I also went with the two-night WrestleMania format, as I believe we all did, because that's the assignment that I thought we were going in for. So let's kick this off. And this is probably the one guy I didn't want to put on the pre-show, but he's on the pre-show just because of who he's fighting. It's Rick Rude against Mark Marrow with Sable, the obvious storyline being Rick Rude hitting on Sable. I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch. I think Marrow, when he was on, depending on his opponent, was very good, and by the end of his career, Rick Rude could lead a broom. And Mark Marrow is probably said broom on this season.
So Rick Rude's obviously got Sable on his trunks.
Yeah, he's got Sable on the trunks. He's talking about taking her to the wild side. It's that kind of like really cringe, by today's standards, kind of promo. But I think Rick Rude would have a lot of fun with it. And I hear Sable likes guys from Minnesota. So, that's how it works out. My second pre-show match is a bit of a brawl. In fact, it is a tag team Texas Tornado bunkhouse brawl. It's the Nasty Boys against Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. And this is just there's garbage cans, there's chairs, everybody's in their jeans, everybody's brawling around. Cade and Murdoch get the win because I quite like them. And I think that they were a bit of an underrated team.
It was Cade and Murdoch against who?
Nasty Boys.
Nasty Boys.
Barn burner right there.
Quite literally.
I think if you legitimately put them in the confines of a tornado tag hardcore rules thing, then it's good. I never rated the Nasty Boys. I thought they were an absolutely dirt worst tag team.
I'll say this: the Rick Rude Mark Mero with Sable thing. I totally buy that. I like that idea. I never would have drafted Cade Murdoch and the Nasty Boys to begin with.
I understood the Cade and Murdoch one because I actually quite like. Again, like Rob, I quite like them as a tag team. The Nasty Boys just was like, well, surely Tony was almost compelled to draft them because they're Hulk Hogan's friends and they only have jobs because of Hulk Hogan. So that's kind of
on your team.
I disagree.
So that's my pre-show. You get a little bit of a straight 80s wrestling match. You get a little bit of a tag team bunkhouse brawl. Now let's get into the shenanigans of how we get all these great talents together. I took a page out of something under the WWE umbrella, but not actually WWE. Starrcade 1989. There was an Iron Man tag team tournament, which is essentially round robin. All four of these teams are going to fight each other, and it's number one contendership to find out who will face the tag team champions on the next night. It's FTR, the Rock and Roll Express, the world's greatest tag team of Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, and Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters. What do you guys think about that? I think that these 16 dudes or these 8 dudes and these teams would just really kick some ass. And I couldn't decide how I wanted to mix them up, so I just put them all in there in a format that means they all wrestle each other in a standard tag.
It's Brainbusters, The Revival, World's Greatest Tag Team, and what was the other one?
And the Rock and Roll Express.
Rock and Roll Express.
That 6 matches on your card is just the same people wrestling tag team matches.
Yeah, but they don't have to go long. They just have
What's
to
the point then?
Well, they have to have great
why
matches.
Wouldn't you just give them I know, but why wouldn't you just give them to one of them, just do the Rock and Roll Express versus FTR and the other one, the
Brainbusters against World's Greatest.
The Brainbusters,
because you want to see FTR against Arn and Tully as well. Why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to see?
That's why there are other wrestling shows other than WrestleMania.
First of all,
we drafted a roster.
Well, first of all, this is fake, so we got all the time in the world.
I know.
The first caveat of Rob's card is time dilation.
Yeah.
This isn't real. So there you go.
No, it's not real. I find it, even in a alternative non-real universe, it's odd to do 6 matches involving the same 4 teams.
Well, yeah, they're spread out. Obviously, it's not like we're gonna go boom, 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 boom. They're spread out. You got some singles matches on the card, and they will be in between those.
And just again, it's just a case one of these teams is going to have to wrestle wrestle 3 times just to get 1 match on the next show.
Yes.
Right.
But the champions are also wrestling on tonight's show.
I think you're going to say the champions are also wrestling 3 times.
No.
That's the whole show. This is a 100 people drafted. I'm having 100 matches on the first night of WrestleMania.
Damn right. First of all, damn right. No, that's not what we're doing. Next thing we're doing is a Cruiserweight 6-pack challenge.
That's what I like it.
It's Psychosis, Hoovy, Dean Malenko, Pete Dunne, Ultimo Dragon, and Cedric Alexander.
It was Psychosis, Hoovy. Who was the owners?
Pete Dunne, Dean Malenko.
Pete Dunne, Dean Malenko.
Cedric Alexander, and Ultimo Dragon.
There's one name that's conspicuously absent, but I can understand where he'll probably be at some point later on. But yeah, I don't think you really can go wrong with those 6 people in just a crazy, just six-way brawl. I imagine it's kind of like TNA style format where it's four guys on the outside, two guys in the ring, that type of thing.
If Ultimate X existed in WWE confines, I would have done an Ultimate X. But that is to determine the Cruiserweight number one contender for tomorrow night, and Dean Malenko gets the win there.
I'm looking at the roster right now. I think, depending on what the rest of your card is, of course, I don't know what you have in mind. I think I probably would have taken Pete Dunne out of that and maybe put somebody like Trent or he'll be another that's probably where I would have put Trent, because I don't think or maybe Dynamite Kid or something. Hey, was Dynamite Kid cruiserweight range?
Wait for it.
Okay.
Yeah. It all depends what you classify as cruiserweight. I mean, you could say a cruiserweight is up to like 230 pounds if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, because at one point it was.
It was 220 was the limit beforehand.
Yokozuna Cruiserweight Championship.
Exactly.
You don't do it.
You just say that you three people in a suit.
Yeah, one of them's Yo, the other one's Ko, and the other one's Zuna.
All right, so next match on the card. 6-man tag team match. Demolition against the triple threat of Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris Candido. There's a lot of like, what do I have Demolition, I gotta do something with them. I'm not putting them against some of the best tag teams in the world in the Iron Man tournament, but I looked at the roster. I do have the triple threat of Douglas, Bigelow, and Candido, and that's what we're getting.
I'm very happy you didn't go with Skip and Zip and Sonny as the opponents for Demolition. I had that down as like, I wonder if Rob's going to end up doing that.
Did you really?
I thought maybe, I mean, you drafted Tom Pritchard.
Sonny against Crush.
Maybe not necessarily against Demolition, but like I was like, well, you got Tom Pritchard and Chris Candido and Sonny, like, you know.
No. No. All right, and then we just get a little palate cleanser from that, which would not be the best wrestling match in the world, and we get Shinsuke Nakamura one-on-one straight up wrestling match against Hakushi. You can't tell me this wouldn't fucking slap.
I dig it.
You know?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, my wrestling knowledge of Hakushi is fairly limited to, I think, a couple of matches that you have with Bret Hart, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
me too.
So I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. Like it doesn't spread too much beyond that. For what I saw, yeah, he was a very good worker, and I know how good Shinsuke can be when he's motivated. So yeah, I don't see why that would be a bad match.
All right. Barbed wire tag team match. This is the one that was hard, because you're going to hear the names I put in this, and you're going to be like, wow. But it's Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, teaming with Raven against Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. This was hard.
Yeah.
Because I wanted Raven and Wyatt together. I wanted something great for Foley. Randy Orton in a tag team match, especially a barbed wire match, he might be a little too pretty for these things, but it was either this or, putting him in a singles with Barry, and that would have been great. But I think he was in the Wyatt family. He's got great chemistry with Foley. Can you imagine the promos that Raven and Bray Wyatt would cut on one another?
What was your other alternative for Randy Orton, you were going to say?
Singles match against Barry Windham.
Huh.
Those are the two options involved with it. But I mean, there's a good. I mean, I'm thankful that you didn't go Randy Orton, John Cena and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm thankful you didn't go Orton Cena, because
that's also an option I had. But
I was kind of like, my main thought when you name those four people is that Terry Funk's got to be in this match.
I thought you were going to go Terry Funk with Cactus Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, and he almost was. The thing is, Raven. I wanted Raven in the match with Wyatt, and I almost made it like a 6-man, and I looked and I had no one to pair with Wyatt. I almost also did Bray Wyatt, Dusty Rhodes as like a great singles feud, promos being cut back and forth. Like I almost did.
See, I would have been tempted, instead of a tag match, I would have been tempted to make this Cactus Jack versus Raven versus Wyatt versus Terry Funk as just fatal 4-way, emphasis on the fatal, kind of.
Yeah.
See, but Foley and Raven, they do have the connection. Like, Foley was in the flock in ECW, and I went with that. One of my favorite ECW matches ever is Foley and Raven against Dreamer and Funk in just an all-out brawl. So I kind of took that spirit and put it in barbed wire because I think that's a good time. Okay, Cruiserweight title match. Rey Mysterio, Dynamite Kid. You can't tell me that these two guys aren't two of the best to ever do it. Can't tell me you wouldn't want to see this match. Dynamite Kid squeaks out a win on Rey Mysterio, probably reversing like a Hurricanrana or something, but it's Dynamite Kid and Rey Mysterio. There's no way it's not one of the best matches you've ever seen.
I do not have an affinity for Dynamite Kid, so
Cal, any thoughts?
I would have put him in some kind of a tag team or multi-man thing, but that's my,
Again, my knowledge of Dynamite Kid matches beyond tag team matches with British Bulldog is limited.
Fair enough.
I know how everyone talks about him and says about stuff, so I have no doubt that it would be a great match.
Yeah, same here.
I can't personally salivate at the mouth at the thought of it because I haven't seen enough of Dynamite Kid, and realistically because of his history, and it's odd because I can totally watch Chris Benoit match, but Chris Benoit is of my era,
Right.
so it kind of feels like if I'd stopped watching Chris Benoit, it'd be like losing part of me almost, or part of my fandom. Whereas I know enough about him, and it was a bygone era to make me feel like, yeah, I'm not too comfortable watching his stuff.
Dynamite Kid.
Yeah. Same thing with Ultimate Warrior, but there's a lot of reasons why I don't watch Ultimate Warrior. And you're going to name him soon as well, and I'm not going to be happy with whatever you put him in. So.
Funny you mentioned the Ultimate Warrior.
He was the other option for Cruiserweight against Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put
This
him in
match
Barbell, I think.
just because I would want to see the promos leading up to the match. Ultimate Warrior, Psycho Sid. Just because I want to hear.
Oh my god, you've got the worst match on any card ever.
I love it.
The promos leading up to that would be like, load the spaceship with the rocket fuel. I don't give a shit. Like, just the worst brain diarrhea promos that you could possibly have.
I'll say I had down as my messing around with your card. I had Bray Wyatt versus Ultimate Warrior for the same reason.
Yeah.
Because that's like all you're going to get from Warrior. And I just think Sid's promos are fucking hysterical.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt that it's got great meme potential, that match.
And then we just finished with some just straight up 3 title matches, 3 great wrestling matches. Women's title, triple threat, Trish, Lita, Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna comes in as champion, walks out as champion, because I think she's fucking phenomenal. And I think it is egregious that she is not headlining at WrestleMania or an All Out.
What's the connection point between Trish, Lita, and Deonna? Like, is it
he just put 2 of the most established women in WWE history and put them against Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no story element of
you do
how she gets in there.
WWE did and say, here's your women's championship. Well, by the way, 1 of 2, because obviously everything's split, so there's going to be 2 world titles. There's 1 unified tag title because you don't split tag divisions, but there will be another women's championship match on tomorrow's card and another world title match. But I thought that would be a very good match. Lita was never the best singles wrestler, but she's perfect for a triple threat. She can do the moonsault and have the spots where she really shines. Trish gets better with age, seemingly, and Deonna Purrazzo is very good. And I think having her in this match would only elevate her, and I just think it would be a really good match. WWE Tag Team Championship, American Alpha against Paul London and Brian Kendrick. Great. I can imagine what these 4 guys would do, and it would just be super fast-paced, super fun, ton of false finishes. I have London and Kendrick going over here, flip out a Grand Amplitude, knock Chad Gable off, roll up Jason Jordan, 1, 2, 3, and what I imagine would be like a 25-minute tag team wrestling classic. Hopefully this balances out the Ultimate Warrior match by now.
Well, yeah, it's definitely fun. again, my mindset just goes, and again, maybe this is just me thinking this as well. Are Paul London and Brian Kendrick that like big deals?
The way
Like,
I look at it,
they were big at the time when we were watching. I just feel like you have in your round robin tournament FTR, the Rock and Roll Express, and the World's Greatest Tag Team, and the Brainbusters, and Paul London and Brian Kendrick are your tag team champions.
The way I look at this is like Tony making Kurt Hennig the world champion, and where it's like, I just like this. Like this is what I would have done.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's one of the fantasy bookings of the fandom match scenarios. Because I wouldn't have put. I wouldn't have drafted London. Kendrick maybe somewhere in the mix, but the Lundrick tag team is really good of that like 2006 kind of range.
Yeah,
but I don't think that they would be in my top like 30 tag teams that I would think of. Maybe.
They were obviously super fun. They had a lot of really great matches. But the biggest thing I remember Paul London for is grinning at the end of that
big man thing. Yeah,
walking before the giant explosion.
before he blows up.
Now, see, I think if anybody says to me like, "What do you think about Paul London?" I think he's getting clotheslined in the Royal Rumble.
By James Snitsky, yeah.
Maybe he gets clotheslined by Jason Jordan here or something. American Alpha as a tag team, though, you had to pair them back up again.
It's a damn shame they didn't get to be a team for longer. And in my main event, my WWE Championship match for night one, Bret Hart against John Cena. And I thought about how can we mix this up, and I thought, you know what? John is really good, especially when he gets carried to an even better match. And Bret Hart's the best wrestler of all time. I've got John Cena walking in and Bret Hart walking out. Because John Cena comes in as champion. Bret Hart, in typical Bret Hart fashion, like Cena goes to lift him for the AA, cradles him, 1, 2, 3, that kind of like son of a bitch. Because Bret Hart, even though like roll-up finishes are played to death now, but Bret Hart always did them in like I got you, motherfucker. I out-wrestled you. Haha. And I think John Cena and Bret Hart would have phenomenal chemistry.
I would definitely want to see that match. It's not the Bret Hart and John Cena setup that I had on my idea for what you've got with your card, but that is a match that Bret Hart would definitely get the best match out of John Cena for sure.
I think so, and that's why I went with these two guys being paired.
That's your night one main event, right? You said?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think you got the actual like real super crisp work with Bret Hart on one side, and John Cena's more like character and brawler type. I feel like they would mesh together pretty well in their primes. So yeah, I can definitely see that as a good drawing main event.
Well, thank you. I think like that's, if you're gonna end the show, end it right. And yeah, I had a lot of tickle butt and a lot of mishmash, but I think that's a solid end to the first night.
So we're about halfway through this card here, and I'm wondering where Rob's going to put Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And I can tell you one thing, though, whether he's on this card or not, I would think that Brutus the Barber Beefcake would be a huge fan of our sponsors for this episode, Manscaped. Now, back in the day, Brutus Beefcake used to carry around those giant shears, and at least for his barbershop, it makes perfect sense because he's cutting the hair off of these scraggly wrestlers and everything. But when you're taking care of the hair that you've got down below, you're shaving your balls, you're trying to make yourself look the most presentable, you're not going to want to use those big giant shears, are you? That's incredibly dangerous. No, instead, you're going to want to pick up the tools from Manscaped because they have advanced skin-safe technology that's going to make sure that you do not get all diced up on there. You do not have a bad day the way that Shawn Michaels ended up making sure that Marty Jannetty had when he threw him through that barbershop window. No. You're going to pick up your Lawnmower 4.0. You're going to get your crop preserver and your crop gel, and you're going to make sure that everything is good down below. And when you're doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to use the link manscaped.com/smark, SMARK, just like the website. And when you do that, you will get 20% off your order and free shipping on everything that they have on the website. So that applies to even just the t-shirts, the travel kit stuff, the renewal subscriptions for your blades. If you want to just get something like that, maybe you want to get the little mats that they have that you can collect all the hair that you trim, because probably going to trim quite a bit with this kind of stuff, because hey, you can. It's easy, it's simple, it works. So whatever you pick up on the website, manscaped.com/Smark. I recommend the Weed Whacker quite a bit. I recommend the Lawnmower 4.0. That is easily the best thing that they have on the entire product list as far as I'm concerned goes. But you want to pick up the product packages that they have and try a whole bunch of different options. Manscaped.com/Smark is what you're going to want to use to get the best deal that you can. 20% off and free shipping. It's a hell of a deal. Take advantage of it while you can, everybody. So whether you are Brutus the Barber Beefcake and you're looking to get some more tools for your barbershop, or if you're just hanging out at home and you want to make yourselves look a lot more presentable and you want your balls to be as spick and span as they possibly can be, go to Manscaped, pick it up, tell them that we sent you by using that link over there, and we will continue on with Rob's second half of his card.
The second night, the pre-show, and I feel bad putting them on the pre-show, but again, it's fake, so whatever. Women's Tag Team Championships, because you have to do it. The Bellas against the Iconics. You have to do it. And, I even said I thought it was egregious that we didn't get to the Bellas until the very last picks of my team, but the Bellas are great. They did a lot for WWE women, and Iconics are just that. So, yeah, I think this was a great match. Bella Twins win because I think they're the legendary team.
I kind of disagree with the great match statement, but it would have been a spectacle.
I mean, it would have been a great match for them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put this in the Diva era. This is something that they make a big deal out of, for sure.
Oh yeah.
My second pre-show match is Trent Beretta, Brian Pillman. Fun. I think light them up. All right, we just saw the Diva match. Now let's fucking give them some pro wrestling and let's get out there. And that's exactly what these two men are going to do.
I will say one thing about this card that you're setting up. I could not have predicted some of these matches.
Well, that's the Rhodes special right there.
That's what I do.
Comes out of nowhere.
Trent versus Brian Pillman was nowhere near. I never would have imagined Trent and Brian Pillman at a singles match.
No. I can imagine Trent and Brian Pillman Jr. in a match.
And I hope we can see it. And that's what I'm going with here. I'm going with it's Pillman, yes. He had the accident, but he can still go. And
heel?
It's a great match. Yeah, he has to be.
I don't know if it was like babyface or heel.
No,
babyface or something.
Pillman has to be heel. It's just a really good match. And to kick off the night, all right, like you know it's coming when I have all these people. It's the Andre the Giant Invitational, because you can't do Memorial because he's on the card, Battle Royal. And that's got Andre, Jim Neidhart, JBL, Don Morocco, Jimmy Snuka, Ahmed Johnson, Barry Horowitz, Billy Graham, Mabel, Big Show, Honky Tonk. Basically, this is the let's get them all on the card.
This is your big man buffet plus some who haven't quite eaten yet.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, it comes down to Andre and Show, and Andre gets the win because it's Battle Royal and it's Andre.
How rude of him. It's an invitational, and he wins.
And he fucking throws them all out. Yeah, get out of my house.
I invited you into my Battle Royal.
If you wanted my urn, Tony will get
on the day of my Battle Royal. And you bring me. I don't know why I went in the Godfather.
Someone turned Andre into the Godfather.
Yeah, essentially, this is like he's in my mind. He's the crossover of Andre and Tony D'Angelo. Yeah,
like, look what they did to my boy, the World Tag Team Championship.
So there's your get everybody on the card nonsense. Next match, Intercontinental Championship, Ricky Steamboat, Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph comes in as champion, Ricky leaves as champion.
I like it. I mean, I'm always been a fan of Dolph, and Dolph being a complete dickwad and Ricky being the babyface here, yeah, I buy it.
Next match. Oh, go ahead, Cal.
I was gonna say it's good. It's a really good match. And if you actually, I assume in your promotion you booked Dolph Ziggler better than he was booked in the actual.
Well, yeah,
anyway.
of course.
I can't question that one.
Next match is I'm losing the name of the Sergeant Slaughter. The Boot Camp Special. The Sergeant Slaughter Dusty Rhodes.
The Boot Camp Special?
I mean, boot camp match, not man. Sergeant Slaughter, Dusty Rhodes. This Slaughter is the one that main evented WrestleMania. Iraqi sympathizer. Does it fit in every era? No, but fuck it. Tony had the fucking foreign fanatics.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna feel bad. Like,
I would love even more so if it's like this weird time bubble where it still happens now in 2021, and he's just like, yes, it
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Again, it's showing my bit of a lack of knowledge of certain areas of wrestling and stuff like that. What is a boot camp match?
It's just a no DQ match, but it's Sergeant Slaughter, so it's a fucking boot camp match.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's where he hurls insults at you, and you have to stand there and take it.
Yeah.
Like
it's the wrestling
Irby.
equivalent. Yeah.
No, it's the Undertaker's match.
The wrestling equivalent of like Full Metal Jacket or something.
Right, yeah. Where he just goes up to Dusty Rhodes and he's like, I bet you could suck a golf ball through a garden hose, boy.
So they do that. Dusty wins because it's Dusty, but it's slick. There's powder. There's bull rope. It's Dusty and Slaughter, and I think they'd have a lot of fun with it. Next, we got your Cruiserweight title match. Dean Malenko, Dynamite Kid. I imagine, again, it's just like the Ray match, that this would be fucking great. And Dean Malenko gets the win because I think he's the greatest Cruiserweight champion of all time, personally. Cruiserweight, light heavyweight, same deal.
A lot of Cruiserweight action on here. 3 matches?
Well,
to set up the Cruiserweight title?
But it's the same one, essentially. It's one match to crown the number one contender, one Cruiserweight title match, and then a second Cruiserweight title match.
Yeah, but they're also, like, when you have the talent that I have, like, you don't want to...
Were you finding yourself? I'm curious if this is how you got to this kind of setup. Did you kind of like separate the cruiserweights, separate the tag teams, and then I went this match, that match, that match, that match. Fuck, I went 3 matches with this guy. I went 3 matches with that guy.
Yeah, it's like Alan made the joke about the Randy Orton and Barbara Death match, but like I had so much for Randy, and I was like, I have so much for all these guys. Oh shit, I understand how so many people get left off the card.
Right.
Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I was hoping it was that reason, or it was just my other justification for that potentially was going to be, you looked at your card and thought, fuck, some of these guys are going to have to work twice because I've got fucking nothing here.
Like, oh man, what am I going to do with Nasty Boys?
It's like when Vince looks at an episode of Raw and says like this, well, we better do a gauntlet or something because these guys aren't fucking not doing.
But like, if you're going to have guys work 3-4 times, wouldn't you want it to be the FTRs and the Dean Malenkos? Like, that's...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I would also draft a roster where I'd be fine with people everyone can work. And that's kind of the... Yeah. But no, you can have your Warrior and Sid match. It's fine.
The saltiness.
I knew that was going to be the one that just got like, oh, what the fuck. But next match, I quit. Terry Funk.
You gotta continue
at this point.
I quit. Terry Funk, Harley Race.
No, that's good. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, reason being, Harley Race is the one that made Terry Funk go crazy. I don't know if you guys know this, because when he beat him for the NWA title, that's kind of when Terry Funk just sort of snapped. So they get an I quit match. In that match, Terry Funk still loses because I'm a big fan of my eye Lawler. Tony doesn't know what I'm talking about. Maybe Callum does. The idea of they're fighting over like a sharp object that, Terry's trying to stab Harley in the eye. Harley blocks it. It goes back up into Terry's eye, and he just, my eye, I quit. That's the end of that.
When he says I quit, is he talking about his eye or his
yes,
eye?
Yes, there is a pun there with I.
It's they instead of spelling it I quit with the just the letter I, it's literally EYE quit.
Yeah. You made a bit of a pig's ear not calling it the not making this an eye for an eye match.
See, that's the next one.
Eye for an eye quit match.
That's what you gotta think about. Next match is going to be women's 6-man tag. Aja Kong leads the team of Meiko Satomura and Natalya against the Awesome Kong-led team of Michelle McCool and Ember Moon.
Ember Moon, Michelle McCool, and Awesome Kong
against
Aja Kong,
Meiko Satomura,
Natty,
and Natalya. Yeah.
I will say, for technicality's sake, she would be referred to as Kharma in WWE.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Kharma.
Kharma Kong.
I played around with that a little bit too with the Shane Douglas, Gene Douglas.
Awesome Kharma.
And the Chris Candido bit as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could always, that's the type of thing that, like, you know, when you play around with these sort of cards, you know, WWE changes people's names around all the time. You could always be like, and immediately after I pick up Skip, he ends up saying, yeah, I ain't being fucking Skip and I'm Chris Candido, you know? So, yeah, she could be like, I'm Kharma, and you know what? I'm like, Kharma's more of my nickname. You know me as Awesome Kong. Like, you know, but right. Kong versus Kong. Yeah.
Yeah, and you put him in the tag just because I feel like gets more women on the card. Two, that's what I feel like their strength would be. Next match, Lions Den match. It's Ken Shamrock, Bobby Lashley.
Okay.
Yeah, that got right.
Yeah, like this fun fact. This is almost Ken Shamrock versus Taz. Then I said, you know what, Lashley would be better in the cage, and I didn't want to do another 3-way as I've been just like throwing as many people in one match as I can.
Yeah, I think with the Lions Den match, you have to keep it to 2 people. If you throw a third person in there, it's just going to get a little bit too wonky.
So that's Ken Shamrock, Lashley. Shamrock gets the win because Lashley passes out from the pain in the ankle lock.
I like it.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Universal Women's Championship match, just because I don't like the idea of the Raw SmackDown thing. It's Sasha and Bayley. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not fucking changing it. Great women's match.
Ooh.
This is the one match.
Seen it.
This is the one match that I just, okay, we're going to have them in one match.
I was kind of hoping that you wouldn't go with a match like that, and you would go a little bit more of like Sasha, Alundra, Blayze, or Bayley, Chyna.
I haven't had my last women's match on the card yet.
Okay, but yeah, but it's still it's like it's an opportunity to put Sasha against Lita or something.
Yeah, I could have put Bayley against Lita. But that's one of those things when you're making these cards and you go, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, maybe I change it here. You got a lot of really good people, and it's hard to get them all in the best possible spot.
I mean, if you also look at this too, I don't know if you guys did this when you were kind of factoring in your cards, but this kind of time bubble that we're working with, maybe we haven't seen Sasha Bayley yet. And this is the first like big build up to that kind of a thing too. So it's like it's hard to kind of approach it as like, oh, well, we've seen that already. And it's like, yeah, but we've also in this world, Chris Candido is Chris Candido, and
they're fighting Demolition. So what the fuck? Like,
Mark Bowers was Sable against Rick Rude. So it's like,
Well, I try to approach the majority of my matches trying to think of matches that I would like to see that I know can't possibly happen. That's that was where the fantasy aspect came into it for me. I mean, I can understand this mindset, so there's nothing wrong with it, but that was my mindset going into it. Was like, let's, outside of like the matches where you just were throwing people together and stuff like that, why don't we do something that hasn't been seen before?
Yeah, I kind of looked at it as like, you guys never saw the show Resurrection, right?
No. Most
people didn't. That's why it only lasted 2 seasons. But that show idea was out of nowhere, people that have died in the past just come back. And it's like, this...
Just Elvis is back or something?
Well, it's like this like old family, this old couple, they're in their like 70s or something, and their 5-year-old son that had died is like, hey, mom and dad, like, what's up? And they're like, well, fuck, we can't like take care of this kid because we're, super old now. And like, somebody's like, I think the main girl, like her dad that had killed himself or something, like comes back or whatever. And it's like a mystery of like, or no, that he got killed, and it's like, who killed him, and they're trying to figure out who killed him, and like, different things like that. And I'm looking at this as sort of being like, if you were to Elseworlds, Battle World, Marvel type of thing, you bring everybody into this, like, here, you're rejuvenated, here's all your health, and here's what we know what's going on, and then what can we do, sort of a thing. So even then, though, still, I mean, at any point, if we do Sasha Banks versus Bayley, crowd's gonna go nuts for it. So
right.
I wouldn't have booked it, but I would have been leaning more towards the opposite stuff.
This is the one where, like, I imagine, I can't ever say for sure, but like how, Callum wanted Rock and Austin. I don't know if he would have booked Rock and Austin, but when you have Rock and Austin on the same card, it's hard not to go, well, that's at least an option. Like, I had Bret and Austin, I'm like, well, it's at least an option.
Well, just to go into my mindset a little bit more of like what I did for the draft. My draft went with the intention of drafting a roster. So I would have taken Rock and Austin, but it would be a case of like, oh yeah, I would do that match. Of course I would, but it'd be a case of, okay, this is a roster of people that I would use year in, year out type thing. This was just like for one show, putting all of them on. So when I was drafting a roster, and then figuring out a card was a completely different process, realistically.
Fair.
Yeah, you go like, well, I don't have this type of person on this roster yet. That's, I guess, kind of where I put in with like somebody like the tag teams, where I was just like, I don't need to use all these tag teams, but I do need them throughout the year, kind of deal. Yeah. Anyway, Sasha Banks Bayley, you got that Universal Women's Championship,
and Sasha beats Bayley, and it's a great match. Everybody cheers.
Ben, drop a comment below.
And next match on the card, Diesel and Batista. I wanted big matches for these two, but when it came down to it, I was like, you know what? They never fought each other. And if we get Diesel in like 95 and Batista in like 05, that's a match that, at the very least, they're two very cool big men. They know how to talk. And when Nash wants to, he can work. When Batista wants to, he can work. I think they'd have a lot of fun with each other.
I can imagine the promo thing, too. What's the thing about basketballs that Batista had said? They don't hold grudges.
Yeah, basketballs don't hold grudges.
And then Diesel could be like, yeah, look at the adjective. Grudge.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they're kind of on par with each other. Like, they're the big man, top draw sort of thing of their eras.
And Callum hates the match.
I mean, I disagree with like the top draw main eventers of their time. It's like,
well, they were draws of their time. I think the top draw of their time had the main event on my WrestleMania the night before with Bret Hart.
I mean, Diesel was a draw, just not for this company.
That's fair.
I figure Diesel's a main event WWE champion. He is the top guy at that time. Batista's, he's the world heavyweight champion. Yeah.
And they both took back seats to Bret and Cena.
Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't necessarily do the match. I probably wouldn't position it this high up on the card, but that's up to you.
Not the match that I had in mind, but I had a similar thing. I'll tell you about when we're going through other alternative
Diesel
options.
Mabel, right?
No. I mean, you can't just like you can't ruin everything.
I can't. Yeah, surely, how is that in any way different to Bayley and Sasha being on the show as well? It's like you put a great match together, you want to just see it done again.
That's true. Diesel Mabel, that's iconic. But yeah, I think that would have been just a good WWE style main event kind of match. And then you get your tag team championship match. FTR beats London and Kendrick, and I think they're really good. Of course, I was going to end my fantasy card with FTR as my fantasy tag team champions. and I think they just had a lot of fun together.
Doubling up on the Lundrick as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were great. And if you know you're having a 2-night mania and you can play into that sort of thing, that's the kind of thing I do.
That's what I do.
Anything, Cal?
No, well, it's going to be a good match. Just again,
You're just shocked that it's that high up in the card.
You hold London and Kendrick in so much higher regard than pretty much anybody, I think, in history at this point now. It's because
that might be a fair point. I did legitimately think that they were that good. I'll say that. It's a bit marky, but I did legitimately think that they were that good. And then we have a one and done, loser can never wrestle again retirement match. Shayna Baszler, Alundra Blayze.
Why do they that they could never wrestle again?
Yeah, I found it funny. It's like, I drafted these greatest wrestlers of all time, and now I'm going to make it so one of them can't wrestle ever again.
I'm curious why that's the case, yeah.
Because in this scenario, they've been feuding back and forth, lots of, like, attacks backstage. Shayna's attacked her arm. Baszler's come back with, tried to run over Baszler with a monster truck. It's just kind of like a... All right, I realize I threw that out there, but that's an actual thing that would happen because Medusa does drive monster trucks. And then it's just like, we will never see this match again kind of thing. It's the war to settle the score kind of issue. Shayna, Alundra Blayze, they're going to have as good a match as possible. And Baszler gets the win because I think Alundra Blayze was very good at kind of Ric Flairing it in her era and retiring, coming back.
Do you have Baszler win and then she drops Alundra into the trash can?
You could, but I do have Baszler win because I think Baszler would end up challenging for a women's championship, whether it's against Diana or Sasha. Baszler should be in a women's title picture.
If the loser gets taken out of the company, this is totally a taken out the trash match.
Oh, there you go. And then my overall main event, which is pretty much decided from the moment I drafted these people, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Roman Reigns, Universal Championship, Austin beats Roman.
Not the thing I was thinking, but I mean, with the way that they are, makes sense. You got like the tribal chief as like the heel. Roman. Yeah. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like if this was 3 years ago and it was just, I'm the guy, Roman Reigns, I don't think I would have put him against Steve Austin. I think I might have put him against Bret Hart and put Austin against Cena.
Yeah, obviously, I don't think you can really go wrong with the main event of those two against each other. I'm sure it'll be a great match. I mean, if it's me personally, I would have gone with Roman, Bret, and Cena, Austin. If it was going to be in that configuration, those ones are the ones that stand out more to me. But
that was definitely the top four configuration I was playing with. And I did think, you can put Bret against Roman and Austin against Cena. And then I just went with, I think the stories lend themselves better the other way. I think Bret and Cena having that respect, yet I'm going to beat you. Whereas Roman could be tribal chief and Austin be like, I don't give a fuck who you think you are. I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going to whoop your ass and take your belt. So I ended up going with that in my main event.
So before I toss out some, and I guess it makes more sense for this kind of thing. But so I was thinking, looking at your card options, Austin Cena. Top guy against top guy. I actually wouldn't have gone Bret Roman. I would have gone Bret Orton.
Yeah.
And Roman Batista.
Yeah, I wasn't putting Roman against Batista. We saw that match. I don't like. That's one where I know you're gonna say, well, you just put Sasha and Bayley together, but that's one where I'd go, yeah, if I'm gonna put Roman against somebody, it'd be somebody he didn't fight yet.
I look at it as like a babyface Batista against Tribal Chief Roman. Roman beats him.
I played around with ideas of like you know, do we just have John Cena, have a one-off against one of the big men just so we could see him slam Yoko? Like, I played around with, like, so many different ideas.
Him against Andre, yeah.
Yeah, like, then you put him against Andre, and it's like, you put Ray against Andre. Like, I played with that in my head. And I ended up going with, we should probably put Ray in the best wrestling match possible rather than a spectacle. But I played with so many different spectacles, and it's hard, I'll say that. Like, it's hard. Like, when you get to the part with the women and you go, I want to put Michelle McCool on the card, but then there's Luna and Bull Nakano there, and there's so many things that I could have done. And what you're seeing is a very, like, early, okay, I want to get them all on the card and have as much fun, as opposed to, like, okay, let's really sit down as if I was going to book a territory for 5 years. I probably wouldn't do, Warrior Sid, or, honestly, probably wouldn't put London and Kendrick in the headlining match. But when you're trying to just, okay, let's play with my dream card, London and Kendrick end up against FTR in some dream main event, because it's, again, like, my dream fantasy type of thing. So that's the attitude I took there.
We can definitely see, it's funny, in all three of our cards, we can see moments of just, I want to see this person, I'm a big fan of them. Like, there's no Chyna on your card, no Bull Nakano, no Kaylee Ray, no Luna, no Jacqueline, right?
Well, because that's the other thing, I was gonna do, it was either going to be a tournament for the men, tag teams, or a tournament for the women, and I went with the tag teams. But I thought about just doing, all right, do the women tournament and then just have everybody fight everybody, so it's like, wow, women's wrestling. That's an idea I had. But you could always do, like, an all women's card, But again, like, it really depends on how deep we end up playing with these rosters.
I would have thought, like, if I were in your scenario, I mean, I wouldn't have booked some of the matches the same sort of way. I would have picked the same sort of people, hence the whole, it's your card and your roster. But, like, looking at that, I'm like, oh, man, I think that 6-woman tag, I'd probably have bumped it up and made it, like an
8 or 10 woman tag.
Like Chyna maybe on the babyface side, maybe on the heel side. Bull Nakano definitely on the heel side. Luna on the heel side. Kaylee Ray on the heel side. Move Ember Moon and Michelle McCool to the babyface side to balance them out, like that kind of deal. I forget who you had in the Andre. Did you have Taz?
No.
Because I had Taz versus Perry Saturn.
Like, there was an idea about doing, like, a hardcore title and doing, like, a hardcore brawl where I would put, like, Taz and Blackman and Test. And then it's like, how many random multi-men things can you have without constantly going back to, well, it's fake, so, time is irrelevant.
I also thought Rey Mysterio versus Ricky Steamboat.
That would have been a fun one. But I knew immediately.
Who do you cheer for?
So, yeah, I wouldn't have put babyface versus babyface.
Yeah.
Like that.
So
I love the Dolph Ziggler idea, though. That's a really good opponent for Ricky Steamboat. That's almost like the perfect opponent for him on this card.
Because, like, my idea was maybe Ray in the Cruiserweight 6-pack, and then do Cruiserweight title, Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne against Dean Malenko. That was, like, one of the ideas I had.
I like it.
But then I thought, okay, we'll just put Dean and the Bruiserweight in the match, and then, do the all-time greatest Ray Dynamite Kid kind of thing. And the idea of doing, well, it's no more contenders match, that's just to say that there's stakes to everything, So it's like, okay, well, it's a 6-way for fuck all,
So who's it that on the men's side that you don't have on the card? I'm thinking now.
Test didn't get on the card.
Taz.
And Blackman.
What about Saturn? Or seeing the Andre?
Andre and Matt Hart was also in the Andre.
S.A. Rios?
Oh, no, I guess I didn't put him on the card.
Why
aren't the people? Yeah, why aren't the people that aren't on the card just in the Andre?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I guess you could just say they're in the Andre. But, like, when I wrote the names, I'd, like, That was one of the names I forgot to write down.
The Tom Rocco, I think, might have been one. Barry
Tom
Horowitz.
Rocco was there. Jimmy Snuka was there. Barry Horowitz was there.
Barry Windham.
Barry Windham. Like even because like honest to God, when I looked at my card, I go, I got Barry and the Brainbusters. Do I put them in a 6-man? And I so like, nah, I can't not put the Brainbusters in a tag match. And then I thought, well, you got Randy and Barry, and that would have been like just a great wrestling match. And then you go, well, you got Randy and Austin. Like there are, like I did think of so many of the different patterns that you can go with. It is hard.
It's funny how like you can gravitate towards certain things. Like if I look at this list of people available and I look at somebody like a Raven, I immediately go, okay, well, who is like a dark or colorful character that I can put with Raven? Either like a tag team or, like out of the Raven options, for instance, like I never would think like Raven Big Show. I would go like Raven Bray Wyatt, Raven Foley, Raven Ultimate Warrior even, which I wouldn't ultimately pick. I actually do think that the Ultimate Warrior Psycho Sid thing is very like, that would be a main event on a different thing, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be the best wrestling match by any means, but
what do you do with the Ultimate Warrior? I'm not
draft him.
Well, there you go. It's like I'm not putting him against Roman, you know. I'm not putting him against Bret, but I think him having a bunch of nonsense promos with Sid would be fun, and they'd have a match, but it would also be like, yay, I got to see the Ultimate Warrior do the Ultimate Warrior thing, and like do send the crowd home happy that way.
Who do you think, Callum, on Rob's card? What do you think is like the biggest match that you think you'd be like, okay, wow, yeah, I really want to see that?
I'd probably say, I'm trying to remember all of it now. I'd say probably. I'm trying to think. There's quite a few that are interesting. I think like maybe just one of the matches of the tag team round robin thing you've got going on. Like maybe FTR against like Prime FTR against the Prime Rock and Roll Express.
Rock and Roll Express, or like, because even Haas and Benjamin, you know, like I think that shows my era, because I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have put Haas and Benjamin in that much of a role. They would have been like, I don't know, maybe I'll have Benjamin jump off a ladder and I don't know what to do with Haas. But they're a team that I think could have a lot of fun.
Like FTR against the Prime Brainbusters would just be like, it'd be like almost like mirror each other, really. So that'd be quite an interesting match to watch as well. But yeah, I like the idea of the Holly Race and Terry Funk match.
I like the.
I think that's really old school. So I'd enjoy that. Yeah, those are the main ones that kind of like stick out to me.
I think the standouts for me are Bret Cena, Shamrock Lashley.
That'd be good.
Steamboat Ziggler, I mentioned before. And probably Stone Cold Austin, because I mean, when you get to WWE, Stone Cold Austin, Stone Cold Roman, Stone Cold Austin, and Tribal Reigns.
It's weird, as it's my card, so in some way I would obviously love all of it. I would definitely want to see, you know, what Deonna could do with Trish and Lita. I definitely want to see if, you know, FTR and London and Kendrick would be as good as it is in my mind. And the barbed wire match, because I like that started out as, do I adopt WWE War Games and do 3-on-3-on-3 and then do Foley, Funk and somebody against, you know, Bray and Randy and somebody against Raven, Saturn and somebody. Like I tried to get all of them together somehow, and I just was like, I hate that. Like I can't think of another person I drafted. Because, like, if I had the Wyatt family, this would have been War Games Wyatt against, like, Raven, Foley, and Funk. You know, like, if I had Harper and Rowan, I would have done that. In the same vein as, like, as I started to look at your cards, I was like, damn, if I had Lawler, I would have made one of the early matches, one of the pre-show matches, just a rehash of the first ever Empty Arena Brawl with Lawler and Funk. Just because it's Lawler and Funk in an Empty Arena Brawl, we know it's good. It's the first ever 5-star match. Like, and I think it also shows my wrestling brain is all over the fucking place.
You do have from lots of different eras going on here. That's true. You got real old school, and then you've got like 07, and then you've got right now with like Deanna at like a top thing. And yeah,
because it's like, because I also, you know, would somebody think, hey, Shinsuke Hakushi? I don't know, but like I think that'd be a great like 15-minute match, you know?
Trish and Lita against Sasha and Bayley.
That's another, you know what? That's another like really good one. Cause I thought about one of the women's title matches I was going to do was going to be Mako and Baszler. And I was like, we can build to that. Cause I think Mako's one of the best in the world. But yeah, like, I had a lot of fun playing with this. It's very difficult.
Where was Yoko again? He was in the Andre?
What'd you say?
Yoko was in the Andre, right?
Yeah, Yoko's in the Andre, because it's just... I was going to do like a 4 corners body slam match with like Mabel, Yoko, Big Show, Andre. And I just said, let me get everybody in the card through the Andre. But again, I think it's very hard when like you have my weird wrestling brain that goes everywhere to try to get like, oh, what do we do here? Because like there's so many ideas, and then you just zoom in on the most random, abstract, you know, kind of card you can put together.
So I forgot to ask about this for Callum, but we can, now that all 3 of our rosters are out there and people have listened to all of our cards. I'll start with Rob. When you were building this version of this card, do you remember what the first match was that you said, okay, this one I'm locking in, and then I'm going to start building around that one? I'm sure you did what like probably what Callum did as well, and what I did, where I was like, let me write out a whole bunch of ideas. Let me write out another whole list of ideas. Let me write out another one. Let me try to start picking and choosing, and then try to go like, all right, there's been like 5 variations of this card where like, for instance, like under my card stuff, the Ambrose and Piper, it was like, okay, there's Edge Piper, there's Ambrose Piper, there's Jericho Piper, there's whatever. Then it was eventually like, I don't remember if that was the one that I settled on, but there was something kind of like that. I know Undertaker's Sting was like the first one. I was just like, all right, that's it. That's just what it is. But like that is where I started kind of getting like, I'm going to have that match, and now I'm settled on that. And then let me start trying to figure out the other people around there. Was there like one of those kind of deals for you, or like did you find yourself kind of going, okay, no matter what, I'm doing this tag team setup or something?
Like the tag teams was one of the places I zoomed in on immediately, and I went, all right, I can do something like the Starcade 89 now. I just have to pick like 4 teams, because at that point, yes, like Alan says, like that's 6 matches, but it's also like that was just something I was like, I gotta use all these tag teams. And I also knew I want to establish Bret's opponent, and I want to establish Austin's opponent. Because once you knock that out, because also, like, Randy could go in that mix too. Foley can go in that mix too. You know, in another world, like Bray Wyatt can go in that mix. Warrior could go in that mix. Nash is a world champion guy. Batista too. So it is difficult.
Callum, what came to your list was, what was the match that you kind of started to hone in on and build around? Do you remember?
Rock and Randy Savage.
Rock and Randy?
I mean, to be fair, my entire card came together pretty naturally. I put my card together in probably less than 2 hours. And I didn't go back to it afterwards.
You just kind of started working through it, and first time around you were good?
Day one, he had the most like cohesive roster.
It was just a case of like I just sat there, and there was obviously times where I just like I had one match sorted and decided I'm going to switch to this one. Like I knew sometimes it was a case of like I knew which match I was going to do. Like I knew I was going to do a 6-pack match for the light heavyweight championship, so I was just picking 6 of the awesome cruiserweights that I had on my roster to do that with. I knew what titles I was going to be doing. I knew how I was going to kind of structure it. I knew I was going to do Money in the Bank. Eventually, I knew I was going to do War Games. So I was just trying to fill those spots as well. I knew I was going to have a few Battle Royals just because there were going to be people left over. And yeah, it was just like there was just some obvious ones. The Rock and Randy Savage was just blindingly obvious. Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan was completely obvious. CM Punk and Jake Roberts, completely obvious. Putting those 4 teams into a tag team titles scenario, I thought was pretty just straight on. I knew I was going to do something where Ric Flair was going to take on Bruno Sammartino. I knew I was going to do Cesaro versus Walter. Like, so many of the pieces fall together, and then all the rest of it just kind of just flowed afterwards. Like, I'll say there was one thing in particular. I knew I wasn't going to do Becky Lynch against Ronda Rousey, so I was going to try and figure my way around that one. There were certain matches that I knew I wasn't going to do for the sake of that feels a bit either too obvious or too boring to me.
I'll say this. Tony kind of fucked up my mental picks early on because obviously like me not getting Triple H, me not getting Edge felt weird.
You were really harping for Triple H and Edge in particular?
Yeah, because I knew I was going to give you Shawn and Taker. Like, if I could help it, you were going to get Shawn and Taker because I'm sure that those were the 2 people you were wanting to build around. I would build a whole promotion around Triple H or Edge, and like not getting them, I was like, oh shit, So those picks really messed with me. I will say, if I could go back and give it back, I think I would give Callum the Horseman, knowing he had War Games in mind for Flair and Bruno. But like that's part of the fun of all this.
Do you think that if that was the case, if you were doing trades like that you would switch up that and put the Horseman against Bruno?
I mean, if I ideally had the Horseman available to me, then yeah, but I would have just made a new Horseman out of the people that I chose.
Rather than just going with Arn and Tully.
Oh, I definitely, like, if I had the opportunity, like Rob picked on Tully before I could get to them, I was going to pick them.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of, yeah, they probably would be in that match, and I probably would have moved a few people around, gotten rid of probably Thatcher and Barrett, put them in the Battle Royal or something, and just thrown them in instead. But yeah, my mindset going into that War Games was just like, okay, I'll just create a new 4 Horsemen because it's not like that's never happened before.
Yeah, multiple times. I mean, we got Mongo in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think a 4 Horsemen of, technically 5, obviously, but it's like Ric Flair. Well, there were 5 people in it multiple times as well, so that doesn't really matter either. But Ric Flair, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, Timothy Thatcher, and Bad News Barrett, I think that's pretty good 4 Horsemen.
So it's the type of thing that we've got these cards settled on now. And those are just what we can do with our cards, but they're all going to factor in a little bit with the next couple 2 podcasts and everything that we're going to be doing, because we're going to be trying to settle on the ultimate roster next, wherein it's not limited to just these 300 people. We could potentially bring some more people if we forgot them or, whatever, but we're going to try to figure out our 150 people to work with to make a full, this is the ultimate roster. You can't just make it all 300 and work with it type of scenario. I might play around with the idea of the 300 at some point down the line. Maybe we do some kind of like other variations of that sort of deal. I don't know. Maybe we play around a little bit more with like, this is a thought. I don't know if this is going to be something that we actually do or not, but a thought of mine was that maybe we can play a little bit more into the what would you do with the other person's card thing. We're probably not going to have the time to record podcast-wise, but maybe even just like an editorial side of things, just like an extra post on smarkmoment.com might be like, okay, Callum's version of Tony's card with his roster, Rob's version of Callum's one, like that kind of thing. Like maybe we do that depending on if these guys are interested and if we've got time and different things. But
I'll play around with these rosters until death. Like this shit's fun.
Right, like, this is a lot of fun. So it's like I can see myself just going down the rabbit hole over and over and over again of doing things like some different variations of things. But also those variations are going to come into play when we get our 150, and then we eventually do our consolidated all-time card, because you're going to see some ideas that are all over the place here. Where like who knows, maybe some of these exact matches on any of our 3 cards end up going on the actual all-time, maybe we get Stone Cold versus Roman Reigns on our all-time biggest possible card possible. And like I'm really looking forward to the idea of like Rob's all over the place. So you can bring it in.
I would be. Let's be real. Yeah. You went into this knowing I was gonna just here's some shit. Like,
so you're gonna be able to offset, for instance, like I am probably almost never going to have a suggestion of some old school type stuff, and then Callum is gonna like balance some of that stuff out. Callum's gonna be very like straight to the matter about, I think that this person's in this range and we should hone in on that. I'm going to be very much like, we need some gimmicks of whatever, this kind of thing. Rob's going to toss out some ideas of like, because I think, Rob, more than anybody, I think you've got the most amount of actual like gimmick matches on yours.
I really played with the idea of it being a fantasy.
Because Callum's got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9 gimmick matches. If you count like light heavyweight open, light heavyweight championship.
They're not. I don't really class a lot of them as gimmicks. Like I class the gimmick matches as war games. And
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
The Battle Royals.
Like the other ones are straight up like wrestling matches or battle royals, realistically. But even if they are 6 men, it's still just 6 men having a wrestling match.
Yeah, but I mean, technically, if you count them, I still think that you aren't on par with Rob's, because Rob's got Tag Team Texas Tornado, Bunkhouse, Cruiserweight 6, Barbed Wire Tag. Or no, maybe not, because I forget I'm labeling these slightly different. That's just regular championship matches for some of these, so I'm thinking the opposite.
I found it, honestly, one of the most interesting things I found about our 3 cards is that I was the only person to put a ladder match on it.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Money in the Bank. I don't know if I would have.
In general, like WrestleMania is known for having ladder matches. Pretty much is like one of the staples of it.
I don't know who I would have. I guess I would. You know what? In retrospect, maybe I would have done Usos and Hart Foundation in the ladder match. That could have been a good finale for that.
Final. Yeah.
Have the titles hanging up over there.
I thought about it, especially with London Kendrick and American Alpha, and I was like, no, it's a hat and a hat. I just want to see them wrestle.
Yeah, so we got some interesting cards here. Drop us your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what your favorite matches. Tell us what your least favorite matches are for Rob's card.
And why is it Ultimate Warrior and Psycho Sid?
I tell you, that's not my least favorite of your setup.
It's mine. I mean,
I think the one that I'd be the least interested in on your setup is probably either Nasty Boys Creed Murdoch.
That's why it's on the pre-show.
Or
the 6-man tag, I think.
Demolition versus Douglas, Bigelow, and Candido.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and fair. But again, that's why it's on the... I tried to put the bunkhouse on the pre-show because, that's where I think most people would want to see it.
Your card has real Night 1 and Night 2 WrestleMania vibes from this past year, only in reverse. You get all the shit out of the way on the first night.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, that is what I think would probably be better off. Just get the shit out of the way.
What's the weirdest match you were entertaining? Were you like ever giving any thought to having like Test versus John Cena Or like, not that would have been the weirdest thing, but like,
Did you even give any consideration to the thought of maybe putting Andre and Rey Mysterio in a match?
I briefly, it flashed across my mind, like, that's something you could do, but no real consideration for that. I think the weirdest thing I gave legitimate consideration to was, do I want to put John Cena against Yokozuna just to see him slam Yokozuna with the attitude adjustment? And I was like, that's ridiculous. Bret Hart's right here. Like, trust me, like I said, my brain with these things goes, oh, but wouldn't this be fun? And then I go, oh, fuck, I think I just put Randy Orton in a poker tag team match. You know what? I think that might be fun. Like, and so, definitely all over the place. I will say, Warrior and Sid was locked in really early. I was like, of course I want to hear him go, you know what, fat boy, I don't know shit. Like, just, they're fucking hysterical. And then, like, I thought, what do I want to do with Nash? Because I like Nash. But Tony took everybody else cool that is associated with Nash. So I was like, I guess I'll put him with Batista. And, I gave him that. And
there was a strong possibility that if I could have been able to grab Nash, that I could have potentially done Diesel and Razor against Triple H and HBK.
See, but like even that, like I think, and this is coming from me, who I think had done Shawn and Hunter against the Mega Powers once upon a time in a fantasy card. I would have tried to put Triple H in the biggest singles main event possible. That's
the other thing too, is depending on who else it would have been, I might have been in the same scenario of like, well, but I need somebody for the main event, so
Like if I take the very card I have, and I add, like if I take the very roster I have and I add Triple H, I'm either putting him against Bret, or I'm going, all right, fuck it, full blown fantasy, Triple H in his prime, Harley Race in his prime. Like, try and get the best singles match possible out of Hunter. Now, I like what you did in terms of story, but a lot of the stories in my feud came from imagining the promos. I'm not going to sit here and script like what I think a Bray Wyatt promo would be against Raven, or what I think an Ultimate Warrior promo would be against, especially not that one. But I do think a lot of them come from, oh, this would be a really good promo. Like Diesel telling Batista, you had the audacity to call guys like Roman a B-level star of a D-level era. What the fuck are you? When I left, and what I was watching you do was absolute shit. And then Batista could say, well, I was drawing far more money as champion than you ever did. Just like constant back and forth of promos being fun. I think for me, that's part of where my fantasy stuff takes over, is I think this would be fun to watch the build to this more than even watching the payoff for what the match might be. Like watching something like the I Quit match with Race and Funk. Imagine Terry Funk being able to be like, you bastard, you drove me insane. Like, that's the kind of stuff I was chuckling at while working on this card.
You bring up another thing that I wanted to mention now that we've all talked about our cards and stuff. Looking at the rosters that we've drafted, for the sake of, and if we were three warring companies, we would never do this, because Vince and Tony Khan would never be like, hey, I think this guy works better on your roster, that kind of thing. Like, Tony Khan's not going to pass over the Acclaimed and go, they should go to WWE, or they probably shouldn't, but Vince isn't going to say, I like the idea of Johnny Gargano facing this person and send Adam Cole over, like that kind of thing. But looking at some of these and knowing what you did with certain people or whatever, free reign for whoever wants to jump in and say any suggestions. Like, is there anybody that you think you wish somebody would have gone to somewhere else, or on your team that you would have been like, yeah, in retrospect, I wish I could give that to this person because they would do better? Like, I know, for instance, I would rather give Jushin Thunder Liger to Callum for his cruiserweight division than for me to have had him.
And I I believe I already touched on it. Like, I would have given Callum the Horseman. I would have given, maybe in retrospect, I'd have given you Nash, or I would have been like, hey, can you give me, Edge for Nash, or hey, I'll give you Chyna since you have DX. Like,
I would give up Gail Kim, for instance. I think that Gail Kim against Rhea Ripley is nowhere near as important as if she could have gone up in some fashion against Awesome Kong or somebody on Callum's side.
And it's kind of, I could have sat here and booked 35 matches if I really wanted to be like, okay, let's put everybody in the best match possible. But, I didn't want to do 10 women's singles matches because I could have done, and here's the all women's night of WrestleMania for me, because I do believe my roster is that strong. And the way it shakes out is some of them end up actually getting left by the wayside just because there's just 100 great people.
I think I would have liked to have seen what you guys would have done with Seth Rollins.
If I would have gotten the Shield, and before anybody says it, no, I would not have put them against Demolition. If I had gotten the Shield, I would have had a lot more fun with what I could potentially do, because maybe I wouldn't have put Roman in a main event singles. Because maybe I had the Shield, and maybe I build a main event 6-man around having the Shield. Realistically, maybe that changes the entire way I draft, because maybe I draft,
one person can make a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I make sure to get Ric Flair and do Shield against Flair, Arn, and Tully. Or anything like that. Or maybe I grab Ric Flair and I do, well, actually, no, we've already seen the Evolution thing, but that is an option. You know what I mean? You can, or maybe I do, hey, I'm going to take Owen and Bulldog and do Hart Foundation Shield.
That could have been a lot of fun.
So one person does make a lot of the difference. If I'd have gotten Razor, we'd probably see some different matches here, because maybe I would have put Razor up against,
somebody,
Austin
or someone. Or no, they've done that before.
Well, they've done the Austin match. In a different world, if we're drafting just specific eras, I would have put Nash against Austin. Not on this particular card, but that's a match that you eventually get to, and you say, hey, there's similarities here. Point blank, 300 of the best people ever. It's hard not to say, oh, let me give Callum, Rey Mysterio so he can have another great cruiserweight match. Or let me give Callum, really anybody. Let me give him Ultimate Dragon. Let me give him Asha Kong and see what he can do in the women's division.
Anybody that stands out to you, Callum, about you wish you would give it to somebody else or vice versa?
Not really.
Well, I mean, you got Regal, and he wasn't happy.
I mean, there's people I would have taken, yeah, obviously, but I mean, I'll just lay my cards out on the table. I think I got the best draft, and I think I created the best fantasy thing out of it. So I really I could look at figures and say, oh yeah, I could swap this person in for this person, maybe. But it'd be mainly people okay, I could live without Austin Aries, or I could live without. I'd probably give Tony the Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, because I had no plans of really using them other than the fact that
I wouldn't bother to get them. Yeah,
but the only people that I would give to you two are the people that are really low down my pecking order. So it's so I know you wouldn't take them and you wouldn't appreciate that either, because you would use them in the same way that I would. I feel like the majority of people that I really wanted, I got. The only people that I didn't get were Anson and Blanchard. I would have got an FTR.
Regal, Lesnar.
Yeah, Regal. Well, yeah, Regal, Lesnar. I knew that early people were going to go. It's the people that are in the mid card area that because once you get, I knew that Lesnar was going to go early. So if I didn't pick him super early, then it was going to go. It's the people that are in the middle of the card that are that you could have gotten. There were so many picks beforehand, so there was plenty of opportunity to get them. They're the ones that annoy you. So yeah, I would have probably William Regal would have been one, absolutely. Riddle would have been one, pretty certainly. Umaga, I think I could have done something good with as well. But in terms of mine, there's none that I really think like I would get rid of, and I feel like I'll hand it to you and see what you do with them type thing, because there's none of them that really stand out to me as like, oh, I think this person is actually better suited to your roster instead, because I just don't know. I don't know what I would do. Maybe like some people from the Money in the Bank, like because they're all thrown into that one. So maybe I'd give Rob Chris Benoit and see what he would do, Chris, or give like Tony, Kevin Owens, or Adam Cole, maybe.
Adam Cole, maybe.
Yeah, but I feel for the most part, I wouldn't want to get rid of a lot of these ones. Maybe I'd give Tony Alexa Bliss and see what she, because I'd just put her in the Battle Royal, and I assume that he would probably find something a bit more prominent for her to do.
Yeah, looking at your roster, more than any,
maybe Rob Molly Holly or something.
More than anybody, there's not many people on Callum's roster that I think could have worked better on mine. I think if I was going to try to like steal somebody, obviously I would try to get like, the big names as I could possibly get, like, Rock and Rodney Savage. But like, I think if I was going to try to like take somebody and try to pitch that I could maybe do something else with them, I think Beth might be. I don't know exactly what I would do with her, but like, I know I would definitely rather see Beth versus Rhea Ripley than, or Beth versus Gail Kim with that scenario than Gail Kim versus Rhea Ripley. Like, I would rather that scenario for my card at the very least, or maybe, I guess, Keith Lee, but I don't know what I would really do with him. But a lot of the other ones, like, I know I couldn't do justice to somebody like Rusev. So it would be either one of you two guys. That's why I was like, I'm not going to pick Rusev.
Really, I would trust you with Rusev.
I think he'd just end up being another one of my like multi-man type things.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, it might as well be in the Money in the Bank as well, you know?
He's a multi-man one for me, but I put him in Money in the Bank because I thought that was just a bit more flashy as well. Like, I did want to do something a bit more substantial with Rusev, but there's just too many people, and you want to keep a somewhat limited card of matches. So,
like, weird things that I would do with just looking at Callum's card, and weird things that I would do is like, I'd probably put Steiners in the tag team title match, just looking at the other, take out the Street Profits. That's not saying I'd put them in War Games, but like, I would probably put them up against Bubba and Devon and the Hardy Boys, and maybe even throw Animal and Hawk in there too.
I thought about that but then I realized I've seen Bubba Ray Dudley and Evil Dudley versus Rick and Scott Steiner. I know it's a different Rick and Scott Steiner, but it's still.
You haven't seen them against the Rick and Scott Steiner.
No, but I thought, well, if I'm going to do War Games, like, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins don't fit in War Games, and
especially with that setup, with the old timers kind of thing.
Like, Rick and Scott Steiner fit in a War Games match. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've done a War Games match, so like.
Yeah, they've done a couple.
Yeah. So, and then I thought, well, Animal and Hawk really fit into War Games as well. And realistically, I wouldn't have put Animal. I wanted the tag team title match. Again, it feels like I'm just explaining my card again, but it's just a case of I want a tag team title match to be a really good wrestling match. And frankly, Animal and Hawk don't equate to a really good wrestling match.
No, I understand that completely. But honestly speaking, I think what we got coming into this was about what I thought we would. Callum has the better thought out one. Tony's got like, all right, I just know I'm going to make Mr. Perfect champion. And I go, all right, I got a lot of names and I got so many ideas. Here is me throwing paint at the wall and look at the abstract art that we get.
You're NXT 2.0.
I mean, you can look at all of our cards, and it is completely what you would expect from us three in terms of card making. Tony's one is like, obviously you've got the big man buffet, and everyone knew it was going to do that, but it's a good mix of like character stuff, the lightning round Royal Rumble. It's gimmicky in places, but then there's the mixed bits and pieces of like really good matches. Put Undertaker in a prominent position, all that other stuff. So it's a lot of stuff that you would expect. And put in Jushin Thunder Liger in a kickoff match. Like, yeah, that's really Tony right there. Rob's one is all over the place, but it's a mixture of like stuff which is like really good and really old school and like full of gimmicks, and
it's all over the place because I legitimately come into this with like off the top of my head, let's go. Gonna look at who I can get here, and then I try to do the best I can with them from what I know from history. If I sat down, and really tried to draft a perfect roster, I probably would have been screwed minute one because Tony would have said Shawn Michaels, and I'd have been like, oh, but there goes my whole main event scene.
Yeah. And then my one is kind of, I'd say it's like it's just competent for the most part,
it's like so beautiful through and through.
But it's just like, but that makes it almost it's my touch because like it's almost a case of like, oh, that's what you just do with these people almost, and that's so I haven't pushed the boat out realistically on a lot of these ones. It's like a lot of okay, that makes sense, and then you see it and just like, oh yeah, that'd be good and that'd be good, but then you just go yeah, but where is the bunkhouse like 10-man battle royal destruction match with an explosion on the outside or something like that? Like where is the freak show match, or where are some freak show matches? It's like, no, this is just the card of people. Like this is just what
form and functional.
So, yeah. So it's like it's definitely like it's super functional and super competent, but that in itself makes it a little bit boring.
I think that a good way to maybe if you guys disagree, leave a comment below and tell us if you think otherwise. But I think a good way to kind of summarize that is Callum's card's a little predictable in how like, oh yeah, of course you're going to do this. Like, yeah, you're not going to go crazy.
Doesn't hit you out of nowhere at any point. Yeah.
Rob's is completely unpredictable as far as, wait a minute, what the hell you're giving that? That is crazy. And I think that mine's kind of a hybrid of.
I look at it like, all right, Callum, we all went to a restaurant. Callum got the most sensible meal and the perfect, drink to go with it.
Callum got chicken fingers. It's always reliable.
Yeah, like Tony gets, a nice meal, maybe some.
And Rob ordered dessert first.
And I ordered everything. I ordered everything on the fucking menu, and I'm wondering why I'm sitting in the bathroom with diarrhea.
You ordered everything on the menu and then put it all in a blender and then drank it afterwards.
Rob's doing the order of like to drink I'll have meatballs and
you ordered everything, put everything in a blender, drank it, and then you shout out Sid Vicious versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Why do I have diarrhea right now?
Is that the version of this feud? The Ultimate Warrior was puking in the Papa Shango one, and this one he starts shitting all over the place.
Maybe.
I mean, that would have Sid as well, because he shat in the Undertaker's face on that WrestleMania as well.
So. Sure did.
Was that ever confirmed?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't care if it was confirmed or not. It happened.
It's confirmed in your mind, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, or the other example I thought of was like, okay, Tony's card is the color red, Callum's card is the color blue, and mine is 6. It's just like it's just so.
Does everybody taste purple right now? That kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Like.
Well, we hope that you guys had fun listening to these cards and checking them out as much as we had fun making them and debating about them and everything. And the debate continues because, man, I got a feeling that when we start getting into, here's how my prediction's going to go as far as the Ultimate roster goes, and then the card that follows. I think the first, if it's 150 people that we're going with, I think the first 50 of the Ultimate card, the Ultimate roster, is going to be almost immediate. Like, okay, we're going this one. Okay, we're all in agreement. We don't even need to fucking talk about it. Like, obviously, we're going to have The Rock on there. We're going to have Stone Cold. We're going to have John Cena. We're going to, that kind of deal. And then I think we're going to get into like, okay, well, let's hold off on this one for some other people. And then we're going to get into, okay, 2-on-1. We're going to go with this one. I don't think that this should be a good idea. You don't think that should be a good idea. And then we're going to get into, we have like 15 left. And that's going to be like the bulk of the conversation is going to be like, I don't think Rhino should be there over this one. Or, like I'm going to
draft Rhino.
I drafted Rhino.
Yeah, Rhino's in the Battle Royal,
Hell yeah, good. Rhino's awesome.
Because
I wish. That's actually one thing I've taken from your guys' one. I wish I could have taken one hardcore guy off your one, so I could have Rhino face them. Essentially, I only had Rhino and Rob Van Dam really, and sort of.
I'd have given you Taz or something.
I'd have given you Tommy Dreamer.
I should have gone Taz. Taz so much more sense by roster. You didn't even include him in your fucking Andre Battle Royal, for fuck's sake.
You
threw William fucking Regal in this fucking like a Battle Royal Rumble bullshit. It's just I'm so pissed that you. I'm still pissed from the time that we did recording one that you took him from me and you put him in that horseshit match.
In retrospect, I would totally trade you for like an Adam Cole or a Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I would have given you Taz because
I had Regal. I would have put him in the War Games match probably.
Although I did have an
Thatcher or Barrett.
Thatcher probably.
Yeah.
Although I did have an idea for Taz, I ended up not using him, so I had to give him to you.
So then, all your picks belong to me.
So it's going to be interesting because these ideas of like what we're talking right now of, this person probably could play around with this one more. We might not get a chance to with the Ultimate card because we aren't going to have 300 people. So I can tell you that some people are guaranteed not going to end up being on that 300 card. I highly doubt that there's going to be a strong argument for the major bros being in the top 150. I like them, but we got a lot of strong people here. I don't think that there's going to be much of an argument for, hey, look, we got 150 people here, so let's make EC3 one of them. It's probably not going to happen. But
or like, nobody's going to argue for Pritchard. Nobody's going to argue for Barry Horowitz. He's fun.
But it's going to be a debate because once we get into that, some of these ideas that we've got, we could be carrying over the exact same things. We could be doing some real different stuff here. And I don't know. I'm excited. These are so much fucking fun.
So the interesting thing is I think we actually all get along really well. And when you put our brains together, I think we'll all go, okay, I can agree that, on the 150, I think the card might be where the most debate comes in.
That's definitely going to be more debate.
Yeah, like it's going to be like, well, we have to do the best we can with the New Day, or like we have to do the best we can with Shawn. So it'll be interesting to see what we end up with.
I mean, we got it settled on our WrestleMania main eventers. We had a good card going on there, but then again, we were also limited to less options. So it became like, okay, well, we have to use this person and we can't use this person. It's going to be very interesting when we get to like, are we going to make the case of, and then, insert certain people here and there, and then free reign. I mean, it's going to open up a lot of just hear me out type of things. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. I could tell you that. It's going to
be a lot of fun either way.
So that'll come up in the next couple of days when you're listening to this. After we're going to record it in the next few days, and it'll be popping up a month later, that kind of deal. Tell us what you think. Tell us what variations you'd like to see of other versions of Rob's card, or other things like, where we can't obviously check this ahead of time before we start working on the other thing because we are recording it in advance, but without knowing what we end up recording a month prior from when you're listening to this, let us know what your ideas are for like the ultimate card thing. Are you going to be like, man, you guys better have Nation of Domination in full form, or you guys better put Charlotte and the Four Horsewomen against somebody else, or, like that kind of deal. I don't know. But that's the beauty of being able to leave a comment and then waiting a couple days and then seeing what we end up coming up with. So stay tuned for all that stuff and check out all the other things we have going on. We've got some stuff over on fanboysanonymous.com to check out under a mango tree, at least as far as I'm concerned. I don't know exactly what's been up in the meantime, but stuff. So head on over to
Fanboys Anonymous. Has been up. They're going to be allowed to talk about No Time to Die.
Yeah, so we got some Bond stuff at the very least. I'm probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so from when you're listening to this, I'll probably be able to get a chance to watch the new Ghostbusters and put something up about that. yeah, I don't know. But fanboysanonymous.com is over there. Like and follow and share and favorite and subscribe and do all those good things over on that website. Keep checking out everything else in Smark Out Moment. Follow at Smark Out Moment all over the place. Follow me at Tony Mango. Check out what else I've got going on. Follow Rob's stuff outside of just this card.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Check out everything I have going on there. Check out everything I got going on at Fightful. And check out some of the more fun stuff that we've done in the past with our like Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast and our 2001 Wrestling Odyssey podcast. Right, Callum?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out those retro podcasts over in the Smack Talk, Smack Out Moment archives, whether it's in the YouTube channel or through the podcast feeds, wherever you're listening or watching this on. Then you can also check out the Power Rankings and all the other great articles on the Smark Out Moment website, Power Rankings in particular, because I'm writing those. And then you can check me out on Twitter at WigMeister14.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, that's going to do us in for this. That rounds out our mock draft of all time, at least as far as the individual rosters go. Next up, as I've said, we will start drafting the ultimate roster of all time, and then we will figure out our 2-night WrestleMania card. So we will see you then, everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.